Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Large Las Vegas. I am your host, Kobe Sherlock, and today, back in the lab, our co-host, Mr. Derek Parent. Derek, say hello to everybody.
Hello, hello.
Guys, today we are bringing another special treat your way. We have in with us today a special guest, a friend of ours who really is the epitome of what it looks like to be a giver in our community here in Las Vegas. So without further ado, Miss Kathleen Miller, the Executive Director of Living Grace Homes from right here in Las Vegas. Kathleen, thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you, Kobe. Thank you, Derek, for inviting me in.
So I just want to dive right in. You know, for everyone listening, Living Grace Homes, a very special part of what we have here in Vegas. Miss Kathleen, can you tell us a little bit about Living Grace and kind of how you got involved and where it started and a little bit about your background here?
Living Grace has 2 residential homes for pregnant and parenting young moms. Age range currently is 14 to 24. The first home is for those moms who are pregnant at any point in their pregnancy, and we care for them for up to 3 months after their baby is born. If they have not finished high school, don't have work experience, or have other extenuating circumstances, they can go to our second home that we call Phase 2 and stay there while our case manager helps them reach their goals so that they are able to be self-sufficient and they can then transition from Living Grace into their own independent living and being able to take care of their child or children.
Yeah, it sounds so. With knowing all that, you know, Living Grace is one of those things. So it's very expensive to run.
It is very expensive to run. We actually opened on a wing and a prayer, and we've operated on a wing and a prayer, but it costs about $30,000 a year for each girl that comes to Living Grace Home, and that is about a little over a third of what it costs the county to care for a homeless individual. Clark County says that the cost of caring for a homeless individual in Clark County is about $73,000 a year. And we're able to provide shelter, transportation, life skills, and really a second chance at life for about $30,000 per young mom. And that's for a family unit. It's not for $30,000 for mom and $30,000 for baby. It's $30,000 for each young resident and their child.
And we spoke about, and so you don't get grants, do you?
I get just one local government grant, and that's from Clark County, but I don't apply for federal grants because we're a faith-based program, and the definition of faith-based at the federal level varies depending on who's in office. And I've been in Las Vegas for 25 years, and I have seen some very good nonprofits that have gone under because they were dependent on a federal grant that when there was a change in leadership, that grant disappeared, and it was a significant part of their budget. So our funding comes from individuals, strongly from individuals, churches, church groups, and local family foundation grants.
So we'll make sure that one, we believe in giving. We're involved in so much now. We're going to be involved in Living Grace and what your organization has. So we'll make sure that there's a donation button, on this podcast that goes out to listeners where they could donate to Living Grace, because this is as I have a 14-year-old daughter, so I could not imagine my daughter needing this type of an assistance. So it really resonates and it hits a deep part of my heart, when you hear like 14, it's hard to think about, your 14-year-old daughter, but what these young ladies are going through, or it's almost like they were just thrown away and they became a product of their environment, and now all of a sudden, the saving grace gives them the belief that in themselves what they can do if someone believes in them. And knowing you, that I know of you, you really, we haven't got to the part where you're actually a family therapist, and
right.
What you help these girls get through and go through, and the trauma that they go through mentally, and then what you guys build up in them in your home is amazing.
when they come to us, Derek, they have already been abused, neglected, and abandoned. I would say that out of 478 young moms who have spent part or all of their pregnancy at Living Grace, that first of all, only 17 have come from intact married homes where there was a mom and dad giving guidance and direction. But the other thing is that there's probably only that same number who have a parent that is actively involved in a positive way in their lives. And we have parents that are actively involved, and it's not very positive, but actively involved in their lives, go to their school conferences with their teachers, know what's going on with them at school. And so that's where excuse me, that's where the problem starts is there hasn't been any parenting. So when you say throwaways, that's really the description, runaways and throwaways. And runaways, I've found over the last 13 years, they run away for a reason. There's something going on there that they're running away from. So always think in terms of giving them a second chance, an opportunity to be in a safe haven where they can know that they don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, whether or not they're going to have a bed to sleep in, while they figure out, with our guidance and assistance, we have on staff case management, what they're going to do, what their next step is, how they're going to parent their child, how they're going to make a living so that they can support themselves and their child.
You know, Living Grace has been around for a little over 13 years.
Almost
correct?
13
years.
1st.
So I know you have a success story.
We have quite a number of success stories, but one of the ones that I'm just thrills me every time I think of her is getting ready to move out of Living Grace right now. And she came to Living Grace actually the first time 3.5 years ago, and she was pregnant with her first son. And as she told me, I didn't stay because I wanted to still be with the dude. And so stayed together. They were together 5 years and had a second child. And then when she was pregnant with her third child, they were together partly because they were using drugs together. So they're homeless. They got 2 little kids. They're living in a car that's unregistered, uninsured, and unlicensed. And so guess what? They got pulled over.
Yeah.
The meth pipe rolls out and they get taken to jail, and the little boys get taken to Child Haven and put in foster care. So she was in jail for 2 months, and when she was getting ready to be released, her sister said, "You can't come to my house. You know, I don't want the dude around, and I don't have room. So where are you going to go?" And she said, "I don't know, but I've been reading my Bible, and I know that by the grace of God, I'll find some place safe to go." And she said, and the light bulb went off, Grace, Living Grace. Let's go back there and see if they have a room. And so she came. She had not finished high school. She had this felony charge against her, and she didn't have custody of her kids, and she was due in 2.5 months. And so she got there. She gets her case plan. We get her in therapy. We get her in relapse recovery group, and get her back where she's having regular visitation with her other 2 children. And by the time her third baby was born in December, we had the thrill of that baby being able to come home from the hospital with her, which is not normal protocol. Normally, if you have an open CPS case and your children aren't back with you, a baby is born and that baby goes into the system as well. So she brought the baby home. In January, she got the other 2 back. She got a job in February. In July, her case was closed. In August, she finished her GED, and she is now we have a scholarship for computer coding, and she is in that coding class and will finish in April. We're just waiting to find an apartment big enough for her and those 3 little boys. And last week, she had 18 months clean. which
That's
is
incredible.
just that's a success story from my perspective. And she says, if I hadn't had Living Grace, I don't think that I could have gotten any of this done, simply because she didn't have the security and the support to be able to follow through.
The stuff that Living Grace does. So we are in Henderson leadership together. We're small group buddies.
Right.
I got, I love you. As soon as I met you, like we had some amazing conversations. What you do is inspiring, but it's no doubt, it's no reason why you just won an award for the city of Henderson. Tell us a little bit about the award you just won.
The Henderson Chamber of Commerce has been probably one of the better decisions that I made, was to join the chamber as a nonprofit, and that's been almost 6 years ago. This year we won the Outstanding Nonprofit Award for the city of Henderson, and I was very excited to see the votes come in, and when I got the call that we had won, I was just over the top thrilled, because being a nonprofit in the city of Henderson was also one of the things that I think has been very beneficial. It is the third largest, or no, I think second largest city in Nevada now, and yet it still has that small town, everybody helps everybody atmosphere, where the mayor says, "Oh, you need something? Hey, let's get this person involved," and the business community says, "Oh, you need something? Here, let's help you find jobs for those girls," and so being a Henderson nonprofit has been beneficial to Living Grace and to the young ladies that live there.
Henderson really does have that, like I saw you and the mayor, and you and Scott, and just to see, everyone come together, just the support and love that I saw at the awards banquet or the awards dinner was special, because we went there together.
That's right.
And we would definitely, when we saw you get the award, I was like, yes. That's my small group buddy right there.
He was cheering you on from that.
I was so thrilled to have so many of our leadership classmates there that evening. It was probably not, but it felt like my own little cheering squad.
but like you said, like you can just call up the mayor. Like that's like it's you don't get that in every city or town. But it's not like you and the mayor are best friends, go for coffee. But this mayor in Henderson is unbelievable. Mayor Marsh is unbelievable.
Yep.
The stuff that she has done in Henderson, we're all witnesses of the growth. There's a reason why big companies want to come to Henderson. It's easy to do business. She has been amazing. Her and her staff, Bristol and the city director, everyone has just been amazing to work with. And we're so grateful that you got that award. But Living Grace is, my God, when I think of what you do there, and coming from a background of not being empowered as a child to being empowered, as an adult is different. When you're a kid, you have this belief, the people that you're around, that you're no good or you're not going to be, and when they get to a certain level, the belief that you instill in these young women, because now you're taking someone who had 2 children, now has a 3rd child, who's looking for an apartment, has a job, getting into coding, which is huge
Right.
nowadays. And now you're making her, she's making herself, but with the guidance of you, a productive member of our community. And when young people, we all make bad decisions when we're younger, right? Because making a decision at 24, you're still young to make that decision.
Yes.
But what you get to do and how you really change people's lives over the last 13 years is unbelievable. So what we want to do is, anything with Living Grace, so when we promote this, we're going to make sure that there's a link on there going for Living Grace, because this is only faith-based funded. This isn't funded by, there's no big grants coming in. It's one person believing and another person believing in your mission.
Yes. I one of my favorite donors does $10 a pay period.
Wow.
He gets paid every 2 weeks, and every 2 weeks I get a $10 PayPal, because that's all he can can afford. And I know it's from his heart.
Yeah, that's huge.
And I had him over and gave him a tour, and that's what he can afford. And 10, 25, 50, $250 a month donors are the foundation of what we need just to sustain our it. There's a new Department of but the payroll has to go up as of January 1. Our staff, we only have 7 staff members for 2 houses that run 24/7, and our staff has been working at a pretty basic salary ever since we opened. And January 1, the federal government said, no, you got to pay them this much more. And so our monthly our monthly cost of doing business is going to go from about $26,000 a month to about $33,000 a month to cover that increases that's mandated. And so they mandate it, but like I said, I don't ask them to help pay for it. So I'm going to ask you to help pay for it.
That's right. And we're going to be completely receptive to get it out and make sure we get support.
I'm teaching a class on how to ask for money. So we actually had one here a couple of weeks ago. So I think giving back is a necessity in life. One of my great mentors, we've preached giving back, and sometimes it's not always money, but you can give back. Time, in kind, there's always stuff that we're going to need. But I know a young man who toured your facility on Friday and came back to me super excited. So
I had a great time, mostly because we talked about it. I was at the Henderson Awards. You shared a little bit about Kathleen and what your relationship with her was. I got to hear about Living Grace. Then you nailed this award. And of course it brings it straight to my attention on what you're up to. After being present there on Friday, it's no small operation at all. This is a huge movement that gets to be supported by this community because it's a necessity. And so we're going through, and for me, outside of just, and I can probably go for a couple hours on this, so I'm going to try to tune it into a few things that were like major points for me. But your vision of where it started and where we look for it to grow is unbelievable. It's unbelievable because you do have a small staff, and for you to put it into phases and really get excited about where it's growing, I can't wait. I'm here in Vegas, so I get to be a part of that growth and how we can support. And I'm not sure if that growth and vision of the next phase has been released yet or whatnot.
It's moving forward because we've already been presenting it and working both with the political, with the educational, and with community resources, and so not going into depth, but it will be a significantly larger enterprise. It'll be a campus that will provide both housing, but also education, job training opportunities, retail, commercial enterprises, on-site childcare. Things that it will be like a small community that will give the young women an opportunity to really not just learn new ways, but also get those implanted in such a way that they will then be able to take that out into the community and really be an asset to our community as well.
This is going to be like a Quentin Tarantino film really, really quick, because we didn't even touch on, like, your background's not like Living Grace or like nonprofit. Your background is actually something completely different.
Well, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. My first degree was, in psychology, and then my master's in marriage and family therapy. And I do work, though, with a similar population. And although I was getting my master's at the same time I was opening Living Grace, and it occurred to me that was a kind of crazy thing to do. But I believe that it has been a benefit to the young women and gives me some insight into what they have been through and the challenges that they have. And the executive director's position, I found out shortly after we opened, is really the position is a jack of all trades. Yeah. And so it's doing a little bit of everything from, unplugging the toilet to getting the plumbers out to figuring out how to get the grass mowed, to holding hands in the hospital during the night for labor, rocking the baby sometimes. It just, the position is certainly multifaceted, and the young lady that I mentioned, if that's the only success we had, which obviously it's not after almost 13 years, to me that would be worth all the time and effort and lost sleep, to just be able to look and see the change that has happened in her life, and that physical change from that hunted look to the I'm going somewhere. Yeah. Is amazing.
We didn't even touch on, all that stuff is you doing for others. Clogging the toilets, to being at the hospital, but that's not even saying the stuff where you're going out and asking for donations, or honestly, you have a gala coming up.
We do, March 5th, and as mentioned, the mayor. We're actually going to honor the mayor. Our keynote speaker is going to be Trish Nash, who is also the chairman of our board, but she has her own story to tell, and she's going to share it. And the gala will be at Dragon Ridge Country Club in Henderson, which we're really excited about because we've been outside of Henderson the last 5 years. But it is, I believe it's $125 for a single ticket, or $1,000 for a table of 10. And it the funds that we anticipate raising there, I believe the goal, the target is to raise $250,000 at the gala, and that helps fund Living Grace for half the year. And our current goal is to, for this end of year, is to raise $270,000, and we are only at about $85,000 right now. So we have about 2.5 weeks.
So you heard it. You heard it. If you're in Las Vegas, Henderson, anywhere in the country, click on the button, Living Grace, donate. We need we're 250 and we're 80, so we need about 170,000.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Let's
so
get
you,
it done.
Running a little behind.
You can count on us for a table. You can count on me for a table. So I'll
Thank
definitely be at the gala. I'm excited. It's funny. Most galas are at the end of the year.
It's a good way to kick off.
Can refresh my tuxedo and
There you go.
and
There you go.
and be at the gala. We're super excited about this partnership. Whatever we can do to help, whatever we can do to get it out there and support. I think you can not think, but I know that you can count on us. We're very much committed to great organizations. But for me, when I get involved in an organization, I look at the people involved in it, and when someone's selfless, you can count on me. I've been around some of these fundraisers and charities where it seemed to be about the person, not about the organization. So for me, it's you give so much time and so much love and commitment and and compassion to what you do. It's easy for someone like myself and Kobe to get behind what you're doing. So you can count on us. If there's one thing that you would want someone to know, like where to donate, something you want us or the listeners to know about Living Grace, about yourself, let us know. This is the great time. So for me, it's easy to ask people for money, and my way is I take a very straight approach. I don't tiptoe around. I just ask them to open their wallet and have a heart and donate money. I think it's one of the most important things that we can do, that productive. We make money. We get to live here. But we get to donate too. We get to give back. It does. You said $10 a pay period, or $20 a pay period. It's a recurring donation. You can click on the site. It's probably a donation where we can go do like a recurring thing. If you want to donate $1,000 a year, but you can only do like $100 a month or $50 a month, do it monthly. But be consistent with it, because this is a great organization that helps young ladies get off the street all right, from tent city, right, to becoming productive members of the site. But don't forget, it's not about just the young ladies, it's about those children too.
Yes.
What type of children are going to come into our community? So what would people want to know? Like what how can this community get around you to get that 250, but not get that 250, but get $500,000, $1 million a year coming in for you could take more young people off the streets and make them and have them being contributors to what we're doing in the city.
Well, for that $30,000 a year that it currently costs us to help a young lady, what we are doing is changing their family tree. We are helping them recognize what their own gifts and talents are, and we all have them. We talked a little earlier about how even when we have handicaps, we have other strengths that then help us overcome those handicaps, and so that is our goal, is to help us to help them recognize their, as you said, empower them, help them recognize what gifts and talents they have and how they can best employ them. The young lady that I mentioned earlier, when she did the very first coding class, she came back and she said, "Oh my gosh, Kathleen, I always wanted to be an engineer. I always wanted to be an engineer. This is as close as I'm going to get." She said, "It's right up my alley." So what I want people to know is that your contribution, your investment, first of all, if you help me raise the $250,000-$260,000 that we need between now and the end of the gala, what you're doing is every dollar goes toward helping those young women. It doesn't go to the state government or the federal government where they have to pay people to administer it, and so every dollar you send to them, we might get 27 cents back. But if you give it directly to Living Grace, then every dollar has an impact on those young ladies. So $100 in taxes means that about $30 comes back to Nevada. $100 to Living Grace means that $100 stays in Nevada.
Well, you heard it.
Thought about it that way.
Well, you heard it. Living Grace is, we get to support this organization. We get to get behind it, but 100% of the money, and again, it's still tax deductible. Everyone says that it's tax deductible.
Yes, it is.
If you're worrying about taxes, you can write off on your taxes. But I'm sure if you go to the Living Grace website, that there's other stuff that we can do. I'm sure there's some in-kind stuff that we can donate. There's probably some time, some hours, some commitment things that people can do to help
Absolutely.
Living Grace. I'm sure we can help with the landscaping, some plumbing. I mean, there's lots of listeners out there. We have. We're very fortunate because we have a great sphere of influence that we get to connect with, and we want to introduce them to you because what you're doing is so. Like I shared earlier, I have two daughters, and one is 14.
Yeah,
and it's heartbreaking to hear that low of a number is going through Living Grace because of. Parents just are not there, or they ran away, or just it breaks my heart to really just to think about that. And we're lucky we have you. We're lucky that these girls have someone amazing that they can go to. So again, thank you.
It's also, I want to say this too. It is very much hands on. That's the other big thing I took from when I had an opportunity to tour. I met a young lady briefly there who literally was working on her schoolwork to get her GED. It was happening right in front of me. And I had to speak to her because that's just who I am. And I was just curious. And there she is, in her space, working side by side, being supported directly. This isn't this money goes to an organization that goes somewhere to a campus where these, young ladies are being helped. This money goes to a campus where Kathleen exists, where she's working side by side with these folks to help them transition and these young ladies to be a bigger contributor. And it was really inspiring to watch that young lady, like notebook in hand, working on her GED right in front of me and knowing, how that impacts. And then the other thing I just want to hit one more. I know we're talking about a lot of great things, but I don't want this to be missed either because I find that it's super supportive from something that's happened in my past. But when you say, that you're helping these young ladies through court cases, through issues in the city government when they're having, child services. This isn't helping them write a letter or, sending them on a bus to go sit by themselves. One last thing, if I can ask you to talk about it before we go, is it not true that you're there side by side with them when they're in those experiences?
I don't even keep track. I have no idea how many times I've been sitting in family court, but I've been sitting there long enough that the judges know me by name. So yes, because that's scary. It's scary to not have your children in your custody and have to go and stand before a judge and explain what you have done in order to turn your life around, and why that judge should trust you to take those children back into your custody. And so just sitting there with them, well, sometimes sitting there with them and holding their baby while they explain to the judge. But yes, and we walk with them to get them enrolled in school, and we go with them to their doctor's appointments. And I don't go to every single doctor's appointment. I don't go to every, I'm primarily the one that goes to court with them, though, just because, as I said, the judges many in the family court know me by name now. And so it is beneficial to the young women, because there's a few of the judges that go, oh, you're at Living Grace. You're in a safe environment where you're getting the type of guidance and direction and support that you need in order to bring your children to that safe environment. And
so for me, that's amazing, to not have a young lady who's facing everything and feels like everything's against her, to have somebody sitting right next to her, promoting her as who she is going to be. This is where your $100 goes. And so if you're watching, click the link and call us. Kathleen, how can they reach out to you to get involved? What's the best way to get in contact or get connected?
The best way to get involved in terms of, in any case, is either to call the office, 702-212-6472. I don't have a secretary, so it's 702-212-6472. But you can also contact me. The link through the website to my email is not working properly. So my personal email is kmlivinggracehome@gmail.com. And if you email directly, you'll get a direct response. And if you call, you'll get a direct response. If I'm not there to answer the phone, I'll return your call as soon as I get into the office.
And you heard it, guys. I mean, this is the way for us to, band together here in Henderson and support one of our biggest contributors, biggest hearts, in everything we got to talk about today. And thank you so much. I know, you took this Monday morning to share with us, and we appreciate you being here. And obviously we get to work with you some more coming up. But
just remember, I mean, you never know. This girl may be the next greatest coder, or her child may be the next president of the United States.
Absolutely.
You never know. No. But we get to give people a chance. Again, just because this hits me personally in some areas in my life, no life gets thrown away because either it wasn't just, they're not menaces, or sometimes we make a bad decision, and we have great mentors just like you to bring them in, and I love mentoring younger children and have conversations with them and let them know that this is not the end, right? Just because you made a mistake at 12 doesn't mean that at 42 you can't be, the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. It's only a mistake in a short period of time, and you get the course correct. But being around great, positive, influential people will change that instantly. When you hang around people that similar beliefs, you can make amazing things happen. And I believe in Living Grace because you guys are truly a pillar and mentors in a community where people deserve a second chance.
Thank you so much, Derek. I really do appreciate that. And that's probably been the biggest struggle is getting the word out, letting people know that Living Grace is here, both in terms of our need of support from the business community and individuals, but also somebody listening to this podcast today, tomorrow, or the next day is going to run across somebody that needs Living Grace.
Yeah. And they know how to reach out. Instead of just going into the system and being when you go to the court, you're just another number. It's very difficult to get out of the system. When you're in the system, you don't really get out of the system. So what you're doing and you're providing, going down to court and all that, it's not, listen, sitting in front of a magistrate or judge is very intimidating at a young age, and being away from your children is very difficult. But, we really appreciate you being here. We're going to do our best to make sure that we get the word out, and we will be at the gala. We will have a table, and we're very excited about going and, seeing what's next for Living Grace, because I know it's only going to grow from here.
Thank you.
Well, guys, I'll tell you, thank you so much, again, for listening. This was a really special episode. And click the link, get fully behind us and what we're up to with Living Grace. This is going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, we'll keep the information coming for the gala. Join us. Come hang out. Come see what it's really up to. And let's see how big we can make this thing together.